London wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. Today is Wednesday, and we're talking about some of the news that's going on around the wrestling business and AEW Dynamite tonight as well. We have a stacked show, and let's kick things off by introducing the panel. Firstly, the co-host of the show, Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I'm stoked to be here. I've been standing in this exact same spot in front of the microphone for the last 16 hours since Off the Air went off the air, anxiously anticipating this show, and I can't wait to get into it.
Absolutely. We've also got Josh Markowitz. How are you today, Josh?
What's up? Clark said it right. I'm stoked as well. We got a bunch of good topics to talk about. AEW, the best WrestleMania main event. That's going to be great to talk about. I'm stoked. Let's do it.
Absolutely. And last but certainly not least, we have the AEW reviewer for Wrestling Republic, David Sheldon. How are you, David?
Oh. Hello, everybody. I'm doing really well. Thank you. On not far off now, my 1 year anniversary of being at WR and doing AEW reviews, which has been wonderful. And thank you all for being so wonderful. I'm really excited to be here today. Love a topic on WrestleMania main events. Really excited to have a little look at Dynamite and some other things as well. So let's go.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun show, that's for sure. We have Numero One Superfly in the chat. Shout out to you, Numero One. That's how you know it's going to be a fun show. And let's kick things off by talking about main event Jey Uso, because he went on, I think he had an interview with the Daily Mail this week, and he basically said, I think the best WrestleMania main event in history was Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes from WrestleMania 40. And it sparked a huge discussion. Was that match the best WrestleMania main event of all time? Clark, obviously you've watched wrestling for a lot longer than I have. I would love to get your perspective on this one.
I'm selfish, so I think it is definitely top 5, but my very first show, I've said it, 200 times in 400 plus episodes on this show, but was WrestleMania 12 at the Pond. I'm the biggest HBK fan in the world. The childhood dream, the boyhood dream against the Hitman and an Iron Man in his match, coming down from the ceiling, the spotlight on Michaels, the zip line, all of it, an hour plus, overtime, sweet chin music, 1, 2, 3, dead center of the ring. That's never going to be beaten for me because I was 5 years old watching that, rooting for my favorite wrestler. It's like arguably my earliest memory. I mean, I have maybe very few vague ones before that, but I was only 5. And I was so enamored by the entire thing and so into wrestling and so excited for Shawn Michaels to win. That moment for me will never be topped. As far as an adult, 40 is really hard to beat. So I'm not going to argue against that. This is personal experience only when it comes to me saying that, because I will also say this. Memorable ones that I watched coming up, 17 was a bit of a letdown. The heel turn aspect. Great match until we got the heel turn, right? WrestleMania 20, we can't really even talk about who won that one. WrestleMania 30, all-time main event with Daniel Bryan. I thought the opening match with Triple H was better. And the show was stolen by the streak being broken. Right? And so it's Hogan Andre, short, iconic, but short. So I don't think that's the one. Hogan, I guess, if you really want to go Hogan and stealing the title, Yokozuna, and that year, that's the worst one. If we're going to talk about the worst one.
That's in the
by a lot.
Not even conversation. That is the worst. I don't think can be disputed even.
But yeah, I'm going to stick with 12 because of my personal memories, but not to like split hairs. 40 is definitely in the top 3, especially since I've been an adult. Because I think 39 was great too. It's up there. 40 is ahead of 39, but 39 is ranked higher on my list than I think a lot of other people would expect.
No, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. And it's also a great point you bring up about, personal bias. Because I think sometimes as wrestling fans, we take certain things a bit too seriously.
True.
different people are going to have different perspectives because it was a different point in their life. And I think that is a very, very valid point indeed. We have wrestling takes in the comments. Shout out to you, Cameron. I hope you're
Cam,
doing
what's
great.
good?
We have David Marge in the comments as well saying 40 is hard to beat for sure. And I'd have to agree with that. But Josh, do you agree with that? That's what I want to find out.
Yeah, I mean, just like you and Clark just said, the personal connection and your tie to the match is extremely important in, what you think the best match ever is. And, I was at WrestleMania 40. We made the vlog, Wrestling in Public YouTube channel, by the way. Check that out. Sorry to throw that in real quick. I was at that WrestleMania and seeing that live, seeing The Undertaker come live and John Cena and The Rock and everyone, it was insane. But however, this is hard to beat. I think it's got to be in the top 3 for sure, maybe top 2. However, I didn't choose that as the top WrestleMania main event for me. So what I said was 2010, just like Clark. Clark was 5 years old when he saw WrestleMania 12. I was 5 years old here, WrestleMania 26, 2010.
Oh, that's awesome.
Career versus streak. Shawn Michaels, just like Clark said, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. I think arguably the year before in Arlington, the match overall was better in ring wise. However, I think Mania 26 was just way more important than 25 was. I mean, one, you have the streak on the line, which of course it is every year. That's The Undertaker's biggest accolade versus Mr. WrestleMania, who's putting his career on the line at WrestleMania. So, I mean, you got 2 of the greatest wrestlers of all time that are about to complete their 2-year-long story, putting their identities and their biggest achievements on the line. I think it's the highest stakes wrestling match has ever gotten and maybe will ever get. And they also had to somehow follow their match the year prior, which, my God, they did, but I don't know how, but that match was insane. Like, I think in every way, the match was perfect. Like, it was full of emotion, urgency, desperation. Like, the shot of Shawn Michaels on his knees praying, like just ready to fight back, even though he was literally dead pretty much. It was such a great shot. And I feel like the story that was told throughout the entire match was just perfect. And it was a perfect way to end his career besides that little match that they had a couple years later, which I don't even want to talk about because he should
That was Bald Shawn. That was a different guy. That was an alter ego.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Shawn Michaels. HBK's last match.
About.
HBK's last match was at WrestleMania 26.
Fact. But yeah, you talk about storytelling, technical ability, character work, psychology, crowd reaction. It was a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 in all those categories. In my opinion, I don't think a WrestleMania main event has ever topped it. But that's my opinion. Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, Josh. That is a very solid pick indeed, and I completely forgot that went on last because that was technically WrestleMania 26. I guess was technically my first WrestleMania, although 25 was as well. It was a bit weird because I think I started watching just after 25, but like I went back and watched it or something. So I think that was the first one I watched, but 26 was when I was fully into it and I was so invested in that storyline. The match maybe didn't quite live up to the hype for me, but to be honest, now you've said that, that's got to be in my top 3, if I'm being brutally honest, because of the fact I was a kid at the time. I was invested. The storyline, like you said, career streak, that's something which you can't, just book. That's something which happens naturally over years and years, and it happened.
Yeah.
It truly, truly was something special. David, I'd love to get your thoughts, though. What is your favorite WrestleMania main event?
Well, my first Mania was 27, so I ain't going Cena Miz. Okay. Look, I've said multiple times my piece on the 40 match barely cracks the top 10 for me, possibly even further down. I've had we've been there. We've had the 400 comments have told me exactly what they think of my opinions on that match, so I'm going to leave that one be. For me, this is really hard because my nostalgic choice would be HBK Taker 26. The problem I have, the question says the best Mania main event. Of all the Mania main events that I have seen, the best match I've seen from in the ring was Shawn, Hunter, and Benoit from 20. But it's a really hard match to watch now. And I know because I rewatched it about 2 hours ago. It's one of the best triple threats I've ever seen, but it's still really hard to watch. So it's tricky, But for the one that I can still sit through without having those nagging feelings in the back of my brain, I'm going to go with X7, and I'm going to say Rock and Austin, because I think that the story told in that match, even the heel turn, regardless of what happened afterwards with the invasion, that whole match as a retrospective of Stone Cold's career, going through the ringmaster, going through the sharpshooter spot, going through the stunner kick out that breaks Austin's mind. This whole match, very rarely will you see a match that has the stakes and the memorability that match does, but also the match through story. The triple threat, for as brilliant as it is mostly just very good moves. Very, very good psychology, very good structure. This is very good moves. And if you followed Austin's career, even though I was not alive when this match happened, you can still see, just chart the story as it goes through. Rock's brilliant. Steve's brilliant. Vince plays his part really well in there. And for me, in terms of memorability, but also in ring action and story, Rock and Austin is the best from a metric that I can still go back and see without feeling just a little bit uncomfortable inside.
I really love that pick, and I apologize even for mentioning it in mine, David, because like honestly, it to me, that one's top 3. No doubt about it. I just also, back to the bias thing we were discussing earlier, like the only thing that held it back is at that time in my life, I was not ready to root against Stone Cold. I was not ready to root for The Rock over Stone Cold. And that's the only thing that held that match, because I watch it back in hindsight and appreciate it more now than I did at the time. At the time, I had this bad taste in my mouth. Like, please, no. Like, not yet. No, I wasn't ready to root against Austin.
It might go down as one of the worst decisions from a business perspective WWE could have done at that time. Because from my knowledge of the history, it like the heel turn, as good as he was at it, was terrible for business.
It was.
In that isolated moment from the story told, for me, that is, I find it very hard. Also, a shout out to one that wasn't mentioned as well, which is Undertaker Edge, which I think is probably the most underrated main event of all time.
It's a great match.
I think that's probably the most underrated main event of all time. But,
another one I throw in there myself, and if not for the fast count, is higher. Speaking of Austin, we've talked a lot of Austin and Michaels at Mania 14. That sort of passing of the torch with Mike Tyson. Unfortunately, the fast count to me hurts the actual in-ring part of that match. But Michaels on half of a back put on another classic with Austin in one heck of a match. If the count looks better, that one might actually be my number one, even over 12 somehow.
I watched that earlier,
guys.
Good match.
It's good.
They truly are. I mean, there are just so many great WrestleMania main events. I mean, to be honest with you, though, almost the actual match quality sometimes isn't, as good as you'd expect, considering it's the biggest, event in wrestling. But I am going to actually personally give mine now. And I'm actually going to say Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, WrestleMania 40. I had to think long and hard about this, but there's never been a story in my lifetime where I've been this invested in for so long. David, I know you got a bit tired of the Bloodline storyline. I was still hooked into it. And I thought the way they built this match and the way that match went down, even if, I was predicting Reigns to win, I thought it worked perfectly. And that moment was one of those moments which can never be booked. It can only happen naturally, and that ended up, obviously, the booking takes advantage of it, but it's just something which was just so natural and was just such a feel-good moment in wrestling. It was like, the end of an era, start of a new era, like it was, and it was next to perfect for me. I would say I'm a story guy. Taker Shawn has to come close, but hey, I'm going to say Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. We have quite a few comments here. We have David Marge here. Triple H versus Jericho. 18 was good. Number one,
it's a better
says Taker versus Shawn.
The problem with the 18 one is, and I don't mean to cut you off there, David, but that was the second best match on the show. Rock Hogan is what everyone remembers.
It's a bet. That match has got a reputation for being terrible. It's not. It's a good main event. Unfortunately, the problem you have is Rock Hogan was 3 matches earlier, or however many matches earlier, and it burnt the crowd completely. But the match is much better than I thought it was going to be when I saw it.
I actually think Rock Hogan was the match before. I think they had to immediately follow Rock Hogan, which is even more ridiculous.
It might have been.
I believe it's literally the co-main event, like it was a UFC card, and like the crowd was just absolutely scorched.
You needed some tag match or something between them, that's for sure.
Anything. 2 promos in a Hall of Fame ceremony.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Combat Creations is saying Hogan Warrior WrestleMania 6. That's a quick one.
I watched this afternoon, Hogan Warrior. I absolutely adore the first few minutes. It's one of my favorite bits of crowd work. And then Hogan, I forget how much Hogan has to make things about himself. Because there's so many examples of Hogan's ego through that. Like kicking out at 3.1, he has to take 2 finishers, but Warrior can't kick out with a leg drop. It's so fascinating to look back on now. It's good. It is good, but it would have been much better if you'd have watched it in 1990 than watching it now in 2024 with no nostalgia at all.
And that's another thing too, by the way. A lot of us younger fans are going to, prefer the newer stuff a lot of the time, because it's what we've grown up on. David Marge also saying if Rock hit that shooting star, then he'd be saying Lesnar versus Angle.
I don't disagree with that in the least.
It was a great match until that moment. We've also got numero. Josh unfortunately has literally left the chat. Numero 1 Superfly saying anyone still remembers CM Punk making Ray's daughter cry back in 2000. I mean, that feud was one of the feuds that got me into wrestling. Number 1, that was like one of genuinely. I mean, I don't ever go back and watch it now, but the CM Punk, Rey Mysterio stuff was just so good to me that I don't want to go back and rewatch it, because the fact that nobody talks about it makes me think it was better. To 8-year-old.
Oh, I watched it. I watched it recently. I've watched it recently.
It's good,
really
is it?
Still really good.
It stands up.
Okay.
Still really good.
I watched it as an adult and thought it stood up.
Yeah.
Oh,
I still remember
I watched it already as an adult and liked it.
Video.
But I like it when they get
Package.
serious.
It was great.
Well, now let's move on, because Clark, I need to get you back in, right? Because you know me, I'm on social media all the time, right? Obviously, have to post everything for Wrestling Public and all that stuff. And I don't watch NXT week to week. I don't. I'll be honest. I do watch NXT off the air every week, which you guys can see every Tuesday night following NXT on the Wrestling Republic YouTube channel. But I've not actually seen this one fella who everybody seems to be talking about right now, and it is Javon. I mean, I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly.
Javon Evans.
Javon Evans. Right. Okay. I mean, everybody and their mum is talking about how good this guy is. I mean, is he as good as the hype?
Dude, we can't stop talking about him on and off the air. Every single time he's been on screen, we find a way to work in that segment. If you watch off the air regularly, Michaud and Drizzy basically watch the show together, NXT, inside of this very program, basically before we go live, and come up with the topics along the way. We, not to let you a little bit behind the scenes, but we start usually with generally the main event, and then we kind of go in order along the show. We have not had a week where Javon Evans appears on the show, and we have not worked a Javon Evans segment into the show. He is sublime athletically. He's not the next big thing. He is the next speed thing. The agility, the athleticism, he is Will Ospreay-esque in the ring. And that is a huge comparison, but I'm talking early young Will Ospreay. Looks like out of a video game. Can do whatever you ask him to do and moves at a pace where he slows down and speeds up. It's the explosiveness that separates him from other prospects that you see, whether it be NXT or on the independent circuit or elsewhere. The explosiveness is off the charts, and he has ability to change speeds in a way that works so well. So down the road, the more experience he gets, he's going to be able to work a normal pace with everyone else. And then you'll just see the type of athlete he is in his matches. He's got a great look, tons of charisma, but I think the answer is the hype is real. If you haven't seen Javon Evans, take a look. The hype is for sure real. This guy is absolutely outstanding.
I'm going to be honest, when you mentioned speed for a second, I thought you were going to go the opposite way and be like, this guy deserves to just be on speed. No, WWE TV.
No, he moves at a pace that you can't teach. He's that type of an athlete. He's worked with really, really, really high quality athletes in NXT already, and he looks a gear and a half faster. And that is not a compliment that I give away often. Like, he looks a gear and a half faster. Like, he can just change speeds on a dime, cut on a dime. His spatial awareness when it comes to his body, every move has looked safe too. That's what's most impressive to me. And we know how young this dude is. And the stuff that he's able to do in the ring, it's going to be, by the time the entire process is done, it's going to be one of the deepest move sets in wrestling. I think it's like he can do whatever you ask of him because he's that type of an athlete. You don't get these type of blue chip athletes in pro wrestling at this age that often either, too. That's what's most impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean, literally everybody is talking about him, and that shows he's only been, on for a few weeks, and that's already been the case.
I tried to be skeptical, and he flipped me. Sorry, that's the last thing I'll say about it. Like, I tried to be you got to ask Shot and Drizzy, too. Like, I tried to be like, oh, he's going to only be okay. And I'm like, no, this guy.
No, yep. He's the guy. He's it. He's the final product. I am Jay Skeet is saying right now, overall, he could be the next big mid-card superstar, but how are his mic skills and storytelling?
See, the vignettes and everything we've seen, we haven't seen him microphone in hand in the ring yet for a prolonged period. But in the promo segments that you have backstage and in the video packages, the charisma is definitely there. The charisma is totally there. He's very well spoken. He expresses himself well. The body language is good. I have no doubt you put a mic in his hand that he'll succeed. There might be some speed bumps along the way. He's a young dude, but like, yeah,
he's very young. He's young. He's 2 years younger than me.
Yeah, I'm not even.
That is shocking.
He is. Seriously, you got it. If you haven't seen him yet, watch a match because he's really good. Really good.
I mean, listen, I'm going to have to go away and I'm going to have to do some homework ahead of the next daily now and watch some Javon Evans because, hey, this guy to be getting this praise at 19 years old, I mean, wow, that is certainly insane. But let's now move on. Actually, before we move on to the next topic, Clark, you mentioned something which was interesting. You mentioned about how Javon, he lives up to the hype. Well, something which also lives up to the hype is our good friends over at Next Level. Now, if you guys don't know what Next Level is, they've taken all our links for all our social medias. They put them in one easy place. You just click their link, nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic, and you can see all our content across all platforms, all linked in one place, plus exclusive content. And oh yeah, just in case that wasn't enough, they're also doing a $100 WWE shop giveaway. All you have to do is click that link, scroll down to the bottom, and it'll tell you how to enter. It's completely free to enter. You have nothing to lose. There's no catch. It's just nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms, all linked in one place. I mean, why wouldn't you do it? It makes a lot of sense. But something which to me doesn't make quite as much sense is what we're going to talk about next. I'm bringing you in for this, David, because we did an Instagram poll and we asked fans, do you want to see Solo Sikoa dethrone Cody Rhodes? Do you want to see Solo Sikoa be the next WWE champion? And 24% of them said yes. Now, I'm a big Solo Sikoa guy. I'm enjoying, in fact, I'm loving this new, run he's going on as, the tribal heir. But the next WWE champion, even for me, that seems a bit much. What's your thoughts, David?
Well, I mean, start off, and I don't want to undermine the statistic because it is interesting, but I think we look at the 24% that do, that means that 76 don't.
Well, yeah, but it's still nearly 1,000.
It is still fascinating. It is still fascinating because 24% is still more than I thought it would be, significantly more than I thought it would be. And I think the 24, and I understand where those people are coming from because I think the fact that it is that high, especially so close after Mania, like, and we've had this big dethronement, tells me that people, that Solo is heating up because he was on a massive losing streak before Mania. So for even 24% to want that is big for him. I get the impulse because I do think that if they want to build Solo as a massive deal on TV, then eventually he's going to have to cross paths with Cody, because that's kind of makes sense for the story. And, Solo to be the tribal heir to take the title and push him, all well and good. I understand that. I don't want it because I think Cody deserves more than that. 100%. I think Cody deserves longer and deserves bigger than that, than just kind of going down to Solo. But then again, this could be a long-term thing. This doesn't necessarily mean that Solo has to be the guy to dethrone him in the next 3 weeks. This could be 6-9 months, a year down the line. It could be Solo. And you know what? I wouldn't hate that if you could build Solo to a level, because I actually do I think that they've done a really good job with this new bloodline, and I think Tama Tonga or Tonga Loa and all the rest of them, they're doing a good job with it. I think that there is certainly a possibility that down the line, if they build Solo as the next monster, he could conceivably dethrone Cody. The problem is, I just don't want it to become locked in this bloodline to Cody loop, where it just kind of feels like we've just taken it backwards again and we're going back to the bloodline. But if they can significantly advance it in an interesting way, then I'd be down to see it. I just want to see what they do with that. So for now, my answer is no. If you were telling me, at the next pay-per-view, no, of course not. But give it a few months. And you know what? I actually think if they keep on the trajectory they're currently at, that 24% will go up over the next few months if they keep Solo at the top of the food chain there. I think that there's certainly possibility that it could happen, but not yet.
Fair enough. No, I mean, that does, you made some great points there, David. I agree with you. I'm actually a bit surprised you're enjoying this new bloodline, but I'm glad you are. We're back on the same, thought process of the bloodline again after the entire of last year, us going head to head about it. But yes, I do agree. Maybe a year down the line we could see that. I just think maybe Solo needs like a US title one or something for a bit first. I think really you're going to build this guy because he could be like, we've saw it with Gunther. You can build a killer, a main event star with a mid-card title. And I think that's probably, should be the move. But hey, who knows?
I wonder in that case then, if this Cody Logan match is to unify the titles, or not to unify, but is for both belts, as they seem to be suggesting on SmackDown that it was, if Cody does win both titles and Solo then took the US title off Cody, that might work. Because I suspect, but then you start the problem, and I have this with you have this issue with a few times that they've tried this, is when you have two different titles. Like if Solo is trying to be the next tribal chief, why isn't he going for the biggest title? Do you know what I mean? Why would he settle for the secondary belt? So you run into issues there. But if they're insistent on Cody winning two titles, which I imagine if they're putting both on the line they are, then yeah, okay.
Maybe that's a very solid point. I also do get the feeling, based on what Ignacio said the other day, actually, Triple H is a historian. I have a feeling if this is to unify them, then what Cody's going to do is he's going to immediately relinquish the US once he's won it. Because Logan Paul's used that and cashed it in for a number one. Like the way Cody's going to spin it, because Cody's also a historian, is that he's challenged for the title now. He lost, so now the title becomes vacant. And I think Cody's going to just vacate it.
I just think that
maybe Solo could win it.
No more
vacations.
I
don't like it.
Yeah, I think that message, I understand, and Ignacio knows more about that era of wrestling than I do. So I didn't know that. I saw it on the daily. So I think it's interesting. I just think that's not been an internal logic that WWE has had. When Seth Rollins won the WWE and US title and defended them both. I think so now if you wanted to spin it that way, I think you're going a little bit too much into the Cody old school stuff, even if Hunter is a historian. I think that would be confusing for a WWE audience that has not had that preconditioned. But if that's what they want to do, there is justification for it, as Ignacio said.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's certainly just an absolutely fascinating one.
I gotta add, all of it's better than Soul's suggestion of bringing back the NXT UK title and canceling the US title while he joins the Un-Americans.
I like that idea. Sorry, I like that idea.
Yeah, but he wasn't. Yeah, I want to clarify this, Clark. I don't know if you'd gone back into wrestling before this, but it was the WWE UK title for the longest time, and then for the last year it became the NXT UK.
Wow.
So to defend Soul, he was on about bringing back the WWE UK, not the NXT UK.
He was bringing back the Un-Americans.
Yeah. Well,
him and Christian and Regal.
Be good heel work. But I do agree. European does make more sense because obviously he is European, and hey, that was another old one. Also, by the way, guys, if you are watching on Instagram, I mean, we've got no control over it. It's got a mind of its own now, because for some reason Instagram was thought that it was like a bot running it. So I had to do a check you're not a robot thing, and I've just done it, and we're still live on Instagram.
Yeah, it says we're still on. I can see the comments. So
the issue is, I can't click stop going live. So we might be live for the rest of the time, unfortunately, guys.
Hey, Jack Ireland just joined on Instagram. Shout out, Jack. How'd you play today, buddy?
Shout out, Jack, indeed. But anyway, let's go from one controversial subject to another. AJ Styles this week did an interview, and he said that I want louder boos than Dominic Mysterio. And basically, AJ Styles in this interview went along the lines and said, I want to be one of the best heels ever. That's what I want to do now before I retire. I want to become one of the top heels. I want to have, the biggest boos ever. I don't want to turn face again. I want to finish up as a heel, and I want to go out as the biggest heel in the industry. And you guys know me. I'm a huge, huge AJ Styles fan. But I'm going to be honest. I just don't think enough people, I don't want to say enough people don't care about him anymore, but he's not as relevant as he was 5 years ago. And people have so much respect for him now because they know what he can do. And what we've seen of his heel run so far, I'm sorry, AJ. I really hope I'm wrong, but I just don't believe you can get to the level of Dominic Mysterio heat. I really don't. What are your thoughts, Josh?
Yeah, Ben, I'm right there with you. I mean, I think the simple answer here is no. I mean, when you look at Backlash 2024, it's a perfect example. Maybe the most AJ has ever been over in that crowd. 20,000 fans screaming, this is phenomenal. He is phenomenal, la, 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 all that. Like you said, it's a respect thing. It's not that he's a bad heel. It's that they know what he has accomplished. They know how good he is, and they just don't want to boo him. So, when you're comparing him and Dominic, the majority of the fans that cheer Dominic, they don't say, oh, I'm cheering him because of his illustrious in-ring work and his ability to tell a story in the ring. No, that's not why. It's just because they want to cheer him because everyone else is booing him. However, the people that cheer AJ, they're cheering him because he's one of the most talented wrestlers we've ever seen. I'm not trying to bury Dominic here, but I think it's pretty evident that him and AJ on way different levels in the ring. And
yes, sir.
Again, on the other side, people that boo Dominic, one, he's a major heel, and two, it's his character. He plays the little kid character. He's mommy's boy. He's the kid that runs away from things, and it's so easy to boo him. But it's not like, AJ Styles' character is different. He's that ruthless heel. He's the big heel. So that's a heel that I can get behind. I can actually root for that kind of heel because it's fun to see a big ruthless guy take on another big ruthless babyface. However, it's hard to cheer Dominic because, one, he's just not that good in the ring. And I'm not saying he should be. He's still very young. He still has time. And he's okay in the ring. He's not bad. He's just not that good. He's nowhere near AJ Styles level. I just think that character-wise, it's way easier to boo Dominic than it is for AJ Styles because I know what AJ has done in his past. I know his time before WWE. I know how unbelievably talented he is. And I just have a lot of respect for him that I'm not going to boo him. And certainly not 20,000 people are going to boo him straight. There's going to be at least 5,000 people in a 20,000 people arena that will cheer for AJ Styles just because he's a fan favorite and he always has been. I just think that there's no way AJ will ever get as many boos as Dominic has gotten. I just think they're different characters. Their pasts are very different and their characters are very different.
Yeah, no, I think you are bang on right there. And Anthony Manzano saying he's at the point of a career where he needs to be both a bad guy and a good guy. He needs to be a tweener. numero one saying it's going to be tough for AJ unless he mocks children crying. I mean, maybe that's the move. Maybe AJ just needs to, do a CM Punk, shave kids' heads and stuff. But I mean,
I think he's too cool to boo. That's the problem.
Yeah,
he's too cool.
That point,
he's cool.
Yeah.
AJ Styles is cool. Like that, it's his own fault. Like he's cool. He did it to himself.
Stop.
He should have been uncool, dude. Yeah, like wear goofier jeans or something. Go back to the soccer mom haircut. Maybe that was one time he was pretty booable.
Yeah, sure. He's he needs to bring back that. But I mean,
bust that straightener back out. See what happens.
Now let's move on anyway to talk about AEW because hey, we've got 10 minutes left of the show. And there's a big AEW Dynamite tonight, like there always is every Wednesday, and there's about 10 billion things announced for it, as there is every Wednesday. Let's kick things off with Hawk returns. I mean, I don't know why that needs to be announced ahead of time. Then we have AEW International Champion Roderick Strong and Will Ospreay meet face to face. Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Moné will also meet face to face when they have a contract signing. Adam Copeland will then hope to go face-to-face when he calls out Malachi Black, and Tony Storm and Harley Cameron will go face-to-face when they compete against each other in the ring. But enough about faces. Let's talk about heels, and one of the top heels in the industry right now, the Young Bucks, Matthew Jackson and Nicholas Jackson will be taking on Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal, while the Blackpool Combat Club, Bryan Danielson and John Moxley will be taking on Jeff Cobb and Kyle Fletcher. We've also got an AEW Continental Championship match as Dax Harwood challenges Kazuchika Okada. I'm excited for that. And we've also got the most just ridiculous, pointless match in the world, an eliminator match between Swerve Strickland and Brian Cage, where if Brian Cage does win, then he gets an opportunity at the title. I mean, I thought we got rid of eliminator matches in 2019, but they just won't die.
You're finally on my side. They're the worst. Remember when Kobe defended them that one time? Shout out Kobe, but like, what? They're the worst.
They really, really were ridiculous. Josh, I'm going to go to you first. What are you most excited for on tonight's AEW Dynamite?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that is going on. It seems like what you just read out would be like the match card for like 3 Raws. Like in just, I don't know how they fit that in a 2-hour show. It's Tony Khan is incredible, pulls off miracles for putting that much on one show. He's insane, but in a good way. But what I'm most looking forward to, I think, is going to be Adam Copeland calling out Malachi Black. He had a hell of a bout against Kyle O'Reilly on Collision, and he delivered a great promo afterwards on Rampage, which was right after Collision this past Saturday, with calling Malachi Black out for a barbed wire steel cage match, a double or nothing, which is just going to be incredible, which I assume it'll happen. And he said that Malachi wanted Copeland to get to his dark side, and he's going to get that. And we've seen Copeland get to his dark side many times. Like we saw it against Finn Balor, Mania 39, which also took place in a cage, by the way. So I think for double or nothing, I hope we can see a different side of Copeland, perhaps a nod to the Brood Edge, or something along those lines would be great. And I'm looking forward to see the response of Malachi and the House of Black tonight. I think they did a great job so far building this feud, but the only issue is Copeland already has the upper hand on this feud. So what I would like to see is maybe, Malachi Black comes out himself face to face with Copeland, and then Matthews and King come out and they tear Copeland up. They tie him up on the ropes. They give him a little taste of his own medicine with the barbed wire. That would definitely help elevate this feud to a whole nother level. But that's what I'm looking forward to tonight. I hope Copeland and Malachi Black gets made official, and I hope they get to face off in the ring.
Oh yeah, I mean that for sure would be a banger if it happened at Double or Nothing. That there's no doubt about that, and I'm excited for it too. We know Adam Copeland his character work is insane. Malachi Black had a phenomenal promo package he did last week on Dynamite, which should have had a bit more time to breathe, in my personal opinion. But hey ho, I'm not going to get into all of that now. I'll leave that to Allison analysis. But David, I'd love to get your thoughts next. What are you most excited for heading into tonight?
Well, I think this is a pretty good card. I should confess immediately that I am one Collision behind. I wasn't able to see the show on the weekend, so I'm catching up on that tonight before Dynamite. So I know roughly what happened on that show, but I am not fully clued in. With that said, I think that the both matches all three really matches surrounding that big Anarchy in the Arena match will be great. With the Bucks match, the Blackpool Combat Club match, particularly that Blackpool Combat Club match. I love Jeff Cobb, but the match that I'm most excited to see is Okada and Harwood. Mainly because I think Dax Harwood is one of the most underrated singles wrestlers in the world. He's obviously well renowned for tag action, and rightly so, because FTR are possibly the best tag team in the world. But Harwood, I very rarely seen him give a bad singles match. And so, he can always be relied on to just put on an incredible match every few weeks, and especially against Kazuchika Okada. Of all people, I think that, but I genuinely think you could make matches like this until Double or Nothing. Now, just stick another one on Collision. Put Nicholas Jackson against Bryan Danielson. Cycle the singles matches, because you've got if everything being good with Eddie, because he looked a little bit out of it after the match at New Japan. So I hope I hope that storyline, and he's not actually hurt. But either way, if all being well, you've got 4 brilliant faces, you've got 4 great heels. Cycle them until Double or Nothing. Just why not have Jack Perry versus somebody? Have what's to lose? Have a bit of fun with that before Anarchy in the Arena. But yeah, I think this match will be absolutely brilliant.
Oh, no doubt about it. I'm excited that's what I'm most excited for too, David. Okada, Dax, like you said, Dax Harwood, underrated as a singles competitor. No doubt about it. We have Elmer Thomas agreeing with you there, saying they can't wait for Dynamite tonight. We have also got our number one Superfly saying, what is with all these people wanting to see each other face to face on AEW? They literally met face to face weeks ago. They just like doing, they just like socializing, guys. Like, honestly, AEW, they're just trying to promote, having
Mostly
a chat.
just hanging out.
Chat in the ring. Yeah, it is funny, though. I said for the longest time AEW weren't doing enough promo segments. And by no means are they doing too many now, by the way. I don't even think that. I think they found a pretty good mix. But it's really funny because Raw started to have less promo segments than them. And I love a good promo segment. I'm not complaining, but it's just quite funny. They've kind of switched a little bit. But last but certainly not least, Clark Taylor, what are you most excited for tonight?
Well, you said it first, and you sounded a little too disappointed, because you can't be the leader of every fan club, but you can be the leader of one fan club. And if you know me well enough, you know that I've had my pre-workout and eaten my chips. I've been saying my prayers, and the return of the Hookster, the Hookamaniacs, will be running wild. No matter what he does, can't get enough of the Hookster. I'm excited. I hope he gets that FTW title back at some point. If not that, maybe an AEW World Championship shot down the road here. It's the Hookster. The guy's electric. I can't get enough. I'm a Hookamaniac.
Why announce it?
I'm convinced.
Have him return?
Because you got to let the Hookamaniacs know so that they can run wild. Come on, Ben. That's 101 stuff. If the Hookamaniacs don't know, they might not tune in. He brings his own audience.
Ahead of time, they won't need to run because they can just walk and get there on time. But if it's a surprise, then they've got to start running wild, don't they, to get there?
Okay. I'm going to say this one more time. The Hookamaniacs will be running wild tonight as usual. But I will also say, in all reality, whoa, David, Maj, calm down. Whoa. Give the Hookster a chance here. That is wild.
David, Maj.
That is wild. Elmer Thomas, by the way, new friend of the show, said he'd be tuning in more often. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Yes. Now we're talking. Okay.
NXT.
But also, I got to admit, everything the Bucks have done lately with the EVP's gimmick, especially after I love good, funny one-liners. It's like one of my favorite things in the world, not just wrestling. When the Bucks showed up at New Japan in Ontario, merely miles away from where they grew up in Rancho Cucamonga, and said, "Thanks so much for having us. We're glad we could be here. We probably won't be back because it's beneath us now." I don't know if I've laughed that hard at a line on a wrestling show in so long, because it's so good. Half their family and friends are in that crowd if you really think about it. it makes it even. This is kind of beneath us now. I died. It was too good. So I am just looking forward to see what they do in this EVP gimmick. It's funny. It's like somewhere between DX, NWO, authority figure. It takes a little bit from everything, but it doesn't feel like it's a straight ripoff of one thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I like the most about this move from the Bucks. And so that whatever they're going to do tonight when it comes to the production stuff, maybe anything like that, just having their hands and their grimy little fingers on different storylines and doing different stuff. I'm looking forward to the Bucks as much as I'm looking forward to, of course, my favorite, the return of the Hooks there.
No, that is a great shout, Clark. The Young Bucks, this gimmick has revived them in so many ways. I know some people haven't liked it. I've loved it. Well, apart from the way, obviously, it started, I didn't like them showing the Punk footage. I still won't like that. Nobody's flipping me on it. But
I'm with you there.
I am a fan of this new gimmick. That is for sure. I mean, listen, there's a lot happening tonight. Let's hope it's a good one. Let's hope they don't I think let's pass that point. I think it's overcrowded already. But let's hope it's a good one. And I mean,
fast
you can
paced.
hear my thoughts tomorrow on Allison Analysis, which will be uploaded to the YouTube channel Wrestling Republic. And then you can see Clark's thoughts along with Anthony and Shard at 11 p.m. UK time, 6 p.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. And
you can read mine on the website.
I was trying to get to that, David.
Sorry.
I was putting
Sorry,
back
Ben.
over first.
David, you jumped your own
you
jumped your own plug.
If you want to see our official rating for it here at Wrestling Republic, you can go over to WrestlingRepublic.com tomorrow morning and to see David Sheldon's full segment by segment review with, our classic star rating system. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to Clark, David, and Josh for joining me here today. We will see you guys in some way, shape, or form, either tomorrow or at some point. We will see you guys. Peace. Hopefully the Instagram turns off. We have no idea.